Live from KTTC, your weather authority, this is KTTC News at 6.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. A major winter storm is already underway, arriving in waves. Some expect it to be record-breaking.
But KTTC is making sure that we keep you up to date on the weather. We have live coverage throughout the region. We have live reports from Rochester, Mason City, Austin, and Winona this evening. And our KTTC First Alert weather team is also tracking the storm as it moves into our area.
Chief Meteorologist Nick Jansen is live on the weather patio where the snow is falling. Nick.
That's right, Tom and Caitlin. The snow is falling out here on the weather patio. We have anywhere from about a half-inch down on the ground. Some of our elevated surfaces here by some of the plants right behind me, closer to maybe about 3/4, even an inch of snow already from what has fallen here this afternoon and into the evening. Notice our winter road conditions here across the area. We really look north of the state border here between Minnesota and Iowa. We have completely to partially covered roads at this point in time. So make sure this evening commute here tonight will be a slick one in some spots. The light snow will continue, and I really just think overnight tonight, light to moderate snowfall. We might be looking at maybe 2 to 5 inches of snow when all said and done by about Wednesday morning. That's just round number 1. That's why we have a winter weather advisory in place for areas in purple here until 6 a.m. Wednesday because of the threat for that snowfall. We look here on some of our Lewis and Ada live cameras and notice the roadways here. We do see those partially to completely covered roads, even downtown. Hour-by-hour forecast here tonight. We continue with the snow, and then round 2 comes in, and that will be the big weather maker here. So winter storm warnings issued for the entire KTTC viewing area. We have blizzard warnings to the west of I-35 and ice storm warnings just down to the south, the Highway 18. That will be when we're looking at maybe 12-plus inches of snowfall. So round 1 is happening right now with the light to moderate snow. Then we have the heavy snow and the strong winds to follow Wednesday extending into Thursday afternoon. That's when travel could become dangerous, if not impossible at times. We'll tell you how much snow to expect in your hometown coming up in your full Weather Authority forecast. Back to you.
All right, Nick, taking a look live in downtown Rochester tonight, you're looking at Broadway, where you can see partially covered roadways there. There are still vehicles out at this hour. We expect conditions to deteriorate as the hours continue. And we do have the latest road conditions across Minnesota and Iowa online at kttc.com. We start our team coverage here in Rochester tonight, where snow has been falling since early this afternoon.
And our Megan Zempel is checking into what the State Department of Transportation is doing to prepare a very, very busy next few days for them, of course. So, Megan, where are you right now? What are you seeing at this hour?
Hi, Tom and Caitlin. I'm just off of Highway 52 in northwest Rochester, kind of by Target, right across from MnDOT. I'm actually in the T-Mobile parking lot because it really is one of the safest places for me to be, but still get an idea of how traffic is going off of Highway 52. Since we've been here, we've seen quite a few snowplows come out of the MnDOT headquarters right across the street. I did talk to them today, and they said that they've been spending the last few days prepping for this, pre-treating the roads with salt. And then also this is an all hands on deck situation. They also have some new reflective tape on some of the snowplows just to increase visibility and then make sure everybody is safe.
Got all our trucks ready. We have approximately 110 snowplows in the southeastern corner of the state. That'll take care of all the state highways. And we're going to be looking at doing our best to keep everybody on the road.
And the operators will be working in 12-hour shifts, midnight to noon, and so forth. So they are going to be here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They tell me that right now it's just a matter of getting that snow out of the way, and then they'll do some extra cleanup once the most of the storm passes. So once again, they said, give the plow some room. Be patient. We want to make sure that everybody gets home to their family at the end of the day. Back to you guys.
All right, Megan, thank you very much. And while Rochester is gearing up for the weather and a look inside Public Works, where it's keeping all the salt, the sand, and the plows during the storm.
Public Works says in these kinds of events, it has strategies in place to lessen the sheets of ice that stay on the roads. One thing workers mention is continually scraping the roads in addition to the plowing. There's also a lot of pre-storm preparation.
One of the best practices is to continually scrape the streets. That helps keep the compaction from forming on the street. To supplement that, we also use regular road salt, which is just plain salt, and it's pre-wetted with a brine, which helps it work faster.
And with more snow and high winds headed this way, the Rochester Fire Department is reminding you to follow the city's winter parking ordinance. On even calendar days, vehicles are supposed to park on the even sides of the street. Odd days, park on the odd side of the street. Alternate side parking requirements do not apply to streets where parking is only allowed on one side. The rules apply from 2 a.m. to 3 p.m. Emergency management agencies throughout the viewing area have the same reminder: stay off the road if you can.
Our Ken Quatrin is live in Austin tonight, speaking with emergency management in Mower County. Ken, how's Austin preparing for the storm?
Well, the snow has definitely picked up here a lot over the last half hour, a lot more from our last weather check. I've seen more plows coming through, and I've seen fewer cars, so that's good. Maybe people are heeding the warnings. Our weather team has been tracking this storm for almost 5 days, and emergency crews have been very busy, obviously preparing for the storm. No matter how much we prepare, Mother Nature always throws a curveball, but some advice always holds true. If you have to venture out, be prepared.
If you do get stuck on the side of the road, make sure you have a full tank of gas, you have blankets, you have a shovel, you have food if you need it, medications if you need them, because with this much snow and how busy it'll be, we're not sure how quickly tow trucks will be available, or even if they are going to be available.
And you also have to keep in mind, too, if you get stranded on the road, you might not be able to get saved or rescued due to not every county agency has SUVs to go out and get people off of, like, I-90. I know the folks there in Dodge County do have those kinds of ATVs along, for Highway 14 and such. But again, just play it cautious and just stay home.
All right, thank you very much, Ken.
Austin City officials are declaring a snow emergency for the next 72 hours. It takes effect at midnight. This means street parking in the business district is prohibited from 1 to 8 a.m. Residents there will also need to park on the even side of the street on even days and the odd side on odd days. Those in Iowa aren't expecting the major snow we are, but sleet and ice will impact their areas. So Darian Letty is live in Mason City tonight.
And she had the chance to meet up with the Iowa DOT about the highway snow removal and safety there. And Darian, how are the roads right now in Mason?
Well, hey, Tom and Caitlin, I'm here off of Highway 65 here on the north side of Mason City, and things looking pretty clear right now. Not any snow falling. The wind has died down, and the highway looking pretty clear. Not a lot of ice or snow there at this hour. However, there was some snowfall earlier, but the plows, they took care of that pretty easily. They put down some brine, put down some sand salt, and it's looking pretty clear right now. I caught up with IDOT officials who have been tracking this storm that showed up on the forecast last week. And the snow plows are ready to go whenever that snow starts falling, whether it be in hours, whether it be in a few hours. They are ready whenever that gets falling. So the shop supervisors are at the ready. They are alert, and they actually communicate with one another. County-wide, there's 19 counties just in this district. And counties in the west will communicate with counties in the east to let them know what type of storm is headed their way.
Supervisors to the west, when it hits them, they'll call the shops to the east and say, hey, it just hit here, it's heading your way, be ready in half hour, whatever, So they communicate really well that way, so they have an idea, and then they can get ready with the other plow drivers and get them out on the road when needed.
And just another reminder, we said at 5 that alternate side parking ordinance goes into place at 7 o'clock, so less than an hour. Mason City residents will have to follow that ordinance until 7 o'clock tonight until further notice. Make sure to tune in at 10 to hear from more IDOT officials about some safety reminders for drivers when sharing the road with snowplows. Tom and Kate, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Darian, reporting live from Iowa tonight. Thank you. And the snow moving through the region is eventually heading east.
Olivia Pronzinski is live in Winona tonight as communities along the Wisconsin border and Mississippi River prepare. Olivia, how is the snow prep and the snow removal over in Winona?
Hi, Tom and Caitlin. So I'm currently on the corner of Highway 60 over by the Fleet Farm and Perkins. And just from standing here for a couple minutes, you can already see the snow accumulating on my jacket. But I talked to the head of the street department today in Winona, and he said that the plows are going to be out all night and probably all day again tomorrow, preparing for the storm. And just by standing here for a couple minutes, I already saw 3 plows drive past. Tom, Caitlin.
All right, Olivia, thank you. Good to see that coverage there tonight. Well, our storm coverage will continue in 2 minutes.
Yeah, we are hearing from the Department of Public Safety about ways you can stay safe during the major winter storm this week.
Yeah, we're expecting major impacts, especially on the roads. Now, this was just round number 1, so light, moderate snow overnight tonight.
Today, there are more identity threats than you realize. And only one has to sneak by. LifeLock alerts you to threats you could miss if your identity is stolen. A dedicated restoration specialist will help fix it. Backed by our $1 million protection package. LifeLock. Identity theft protection starts here. During tax season, there are more identity threats than you realize. Because so much info is all in one place. LifeLock alerts you to threats you could miss if your identity is stolen. A dedicated restoration specialist will help fix it. Backed by our $1 million protection package. LifeLock. Identity theft protection starts here.
Welcome back. In another news today, Governor Tim Walz and Lieutenant Governor Penny Flanagan were highlighting a plan to make childcare more affordable for Minnesotans.
They visited a child care center in St. Paul to discuss their plan to allow a family making up to $200,000 with 3 kids that they could receive up to $10,500 in tax credits a year. This is part of an effort to make child care more affordable.
We're going to use those dollars, they're your tax dollars, to reduce the cost that you have. So I think you see a whole package. Our hope is, and I hope you're hearing this, and for the centers to hear this, by fall, we could be in an entirely different world about how this industry functions, how we hire people, how we pay people, how families are reimbursed.
This discussion follows the rollout of the governor's One Minnesota budget and the governor's announcement that his budget provides the largest tax cut in state history.
Ahead of the state, the Department of Public Safety and the National Weather Service met to discuss ways to prepare for this winter storm this week. They gave a list of things to have in your car at times like this.
Extra bottle of water, hat, gloves, blanket, snacks. Something that's going to have to be there in case you get stuck.
And they're warning that the roads may be dangerous, especially as this storm wears on this week.
We have the snowfall outside here this evening already, hindering our road conditions here outside. We'll take a look at those live road conditions. Right now, we do have some completely to partially covered roads across southeast Minnesota. And notice, we can see where the snowfall is at, right? Notice all the green, so normal driving conditions, to say in northern Iowa. We saw that with our Darian Letty down in Mason City with our team coverage here tonight. But the completely covered to partially covered, and this is just round one. So this is just the light to moderate snowfall that we have currently. So as we look here, future track radar, we do have some pockets of maybe some moderate snowfall in some spots. We kind of had a band of moderate snowfall that moved through Rochester, say by about 4:30 here this afternoon, but now just a consistent light snow expected overnight tonight. That will ramp up maybe accumulation, say 2 to 5 inches, because we have the fluffy snow that tends to stack better than the wet, heavy snowfall when you go to measure things. Here's what we look like outside on some of our Lewis and Ada live cameras. Notice traffic moving somewhat slow on Highway 52, maybe some visibility issues out near Lake City, but want to take note downtown. Notice we do have some partially to completely covered roads. So if you have to travel tonight, again, tonight would be the better night to travel compared to, say, tomorrow night with round number 2 coming in. But just give yourself some extra time if you have to travel tonight. So like I said, a 2-part system here. So 2 different rounds of snowfall moving in. Round number 1 happening now, tonight extending through Wednesday morning. About 3 to 6 inches area-wide will be possible. That's north of the state border there between Iowa and Minnesota. Heavier to our north, so Goodhue County, maybe even Rice County towards the cities, maybe up to around 6 to 7 inches of snowfall. We'll have a break, so we'll have a lull in the action with the snowfall tomorrow morning from about 6 to 7 until 10 o'clock in the morning. Snow and wind increase throughout the afternoon. That is that round number 2. That's what I'm worried about and our team is concerned about for those travel impacts on the way for round number 2. We could have 12 plus inches of snowfall, and then on top of that, 25 to 40 mile per hour winds. That's why we have winter storm warnings issued by the National Weather Service in all areas in pink. That is all of the KTTC viewing area under that winter storm warning. Now we do have blizzard warnings to our west. And I've had some questions asked to me, okay, do we think we'll have a blizzard warning? We probably won't, because I don't think winds will exceed the criteria the National Weather Service uses. But don't treat the winter storm warning any different than the blizzard warning. We will still have travel impacts, and they will be major, I think, across most of southeast Minnesota. And just notice, this is all from this weather maker. So all of the upper Midwest through the northern plains, the Dakotas, even some wind chill warnings in northern North Dakota will usher in some cold air back behind this low. The low hasn't moved much. It will dip down to the Four Corners region and then race across the upper Midwest by tomorrow. If we look at our winter storm impacts, if it loads here for us, we would be in the red. So it's not loading currently, but we're looking at major storm impacts from this, whether that be travel, mainly travel. So our travel impacts here tonight, we'll be looking at tonight into Wednesday morning, maybe minor to moderate impacts on the roads. I mean, we're partially to completely covered outside currently. So that will continue through Wednesday morning. Then we're in the red, so major to high impacts likely. Wednesday afternoon, all the way through Thursday afternoon, basically a 24-hour period, I would say, from about noon Wednesday until noon Thursday. I would not advise to be out, especially outside of the city limits. So whether that's Highway 52, I-35, I-90, I-94, that's when we could be looking at some dangerous to, if not impossible travel at times, and then slightly gets better by Thursday night into Friday morning. So here's future track here. As we track the snow out, the snow continues. Notice most of northern Iowa stays dry overnight tonight, so missing out on the snowfall accumulations. There's our break tomorrow morning, so 7, 8 o'clock. The snow might stop for a while, even until the lunch hour, and then we'll start to pick up. We have ice storm warnings down to our south near Waterloo, even towards Decorah, and then we start to move in the snowfall throughout the day on Wednesday, and especially overnight. Wednesday night into Thursday morning, I think, is when we have our heaviest snowfall towards that Thursday morning commute, and then the snow will move out by, say, noon to 1 coming up on Thursday, and we'll drop those temperatures down. Our snowfall forecast forecast, what's so impressive about this system is how wide that heavy band of snowfall is. And here locally, we're looking at areas right along and to the north of I-90. About 12 to 18 inches of snowfall will be possible. We kind of draw a line right from Owatonna, Rochester, into Winona. But notice the sharp cutoffs down to the south because we will have some mixing down to the south. Mason City, Charles City, Decorah, there might be the chance for that sleet, even some freezing rain, which will limit some of those totals. So northern Iowa, about 2 to 8 inches of snow will be possible. You can download that free KTTC Weather Authority mobile app. We'll have updates all through the night, tonight, through the day, tomorrow. All you have to do, made it really easy. You scan that QR code right there. It'll take you right to the app. We'll have updates. You can track the snow yourself, too. We'll have road conditions. We'll have links to road condition maps there, too. That Minnesota 511, that'll be right there on our free Weather Authority mobile app. 19 for the overnight low here tonight. Breezy, 10 to 15 miles per hour tomorrow. We pick those winds up. We're at 23 for the high tomorrow with snow throughout the day. So first alert days continue Wednesday and Thursday, and then cold Friday, 10 for the high. By the weekend, we're back to the mid-20s with some sunshine. Cammie?
Hey, it's the home stretch of the NBA's regular season, how the Wolves are preparing for a playoff push. Plus, the weather tonight is rearing its ugly head on high school action in the area, including section playoffs. We'll tell you the latest on what's still on this week in sports.
Today, there are more identity threats than you realize. And only one has to sneak by. LifeLock alerts you to threats you could miss if your identity is stolen. A dedicated restoration specialist will help fix it. Backed by our $1 million protection package. LifeLock. Identity theft protection starts here. During tax season, there are more identity threats than you realize. Because so much info is all in one place. LifeLock alerts you to threats you could miss if your identity is stolen. A dedicated restoration specialist will help fix it. Backed by our $1 million protection package. LifeLock. Identity theft protection starts here.
Good evening, I'm Cammie Raisler in for sports. All-Star Weekend has come and gone. Now it's crunch time for the Timberwolves. The team went into the All-Star break with a 31-30 record, which is good enough for 8th place right now in the Western Conference. Last season, they were 3 games over 500 at this point, and then went on a tear, winning 11 of 13 following the break. Now, they'll look to repeat that success this season, but one problem, 13 of the team's remaining 21 games are on the road, and the team has only won 11 of their 28 road games so far. But they may have a more confident star in the second half. In his All-Star game debut, Anthony Edwards talks about getting picked number 1 by LeBron James.
It was dope. Our relationship is super tight. He showed love. He picked me with the first pick. I ain't get him a win. I feel bad, but, it's still love.
In his All-Star game debut, Edwards tallied 12 points on 6 of 8 shooting. The Wolves' first game out of the break is Friday at Target Center. They'll play host to the Charlotte Hornets. It's not a lock yet, but the state of Minnesota is one step closer to legalizing sports betting. That's right, Minnesota DFL lawmakers say today they have an agreement on a bill that would give Minnesota tribes exclusive rights to operate sports books statewide. The bill states tribes have the option to partner with sports books like DraftKings, FanDuel, and Caesars, and betting would be available both at casinos and online should the tribes choose to do so. A similar bill was introduced in last year's legislative session but fell through because of language saying racetracks in Minnesota would be able to operate their own books. Along with the Minnesota Indian Gaming Association, Minnesota's 6 professional teams, the Lynx, Wolves, Vikings, Twins, Loons, and Wild, have all expressed support for this bill. All right, let's take a look at what's in store for tonight. Due to weather, many games have actually been moved up to earlier starts. That's true for sectional playoffs as Lourdes takes on Waseca at Graham Arena. Puck drop was originally scheduled for 7, but it was moved up to 5:30. And to hoops, some area teams playing as we speak. Stewartville hosting Cannon Falls. That game was changed to varsity only and moved up to a 5 p.m. start. Owatonna at John Marshall was moved to 6:30. That game will start any moment now. We'll have highlights for those games at 10 o'clock. And that's a look at sports. We'll be right back.
Today, there are more identity threats than you realize. And only one has to sneak by. LifeLock alerts you to threats you could miss if your identity is stolen. A dedicated restoration specialist will help fix it. Backed by our $1 million protection package. LifeLock. Identity theft protection starts here. During tax season, there are more identity threats than you realize. Because so much info is all in one place. LifeLock alerts you to threats you could miss if your identity is stolen. A dedicated restoration specialist will help fix it. Backed by our $1 million protection package. LifeLock. Identity theft protection starts here.
We know how important weather information is to you.
Especially this week. That's why we've launched a 24/7 weather live stream to keep you and your family up to date on the conditions. It features the latest forecast from our chief meteorologist, Mr. Nick Jansen, and the entire Weather Authority team, the current conditions, so much more. You can watch it anytime online at kttc.com. A valuable resource, especially during this time.
And making sure we have that app too.
Yeah, look at that transition, right to
Nailed
the app
it.
right there. All you have to do is scan that QR code right there. That free KTTC Weather Authority mobile app will send push alerts. I know I just sent a push alert about a half hour ago on our updated snowfall totals for the rest of that system. So we'll leave that up. All you have to do is scan that QR code
And
there.
some people wonder what scan means. It opens up your camera on your smartphone.
Hey.
Put the camera onto the
Yep,
QR
that's
code
right.
and then you're going to take a picture and then just click the little link.
Maybe I should do that right now.
Do it quick.
Well,
You already
have it, though.
I got it, but I
By
just
some
want to
people,
refresh.
I meant Tom.
Oh, yeah, right.
Tom just wanted to
The
send a
old
text
guy here. What's an app? We'll see back at 10.
Other companies and consumers.